Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Leon. I'm going to take you on a little adventure. What kind of adventure? Let's just call it a nostalgia-ridden one. Today we're going to be talking about Sonic Mania, and I'm sure a couple of you out there have already played it. It's been out for about a week now, but I'm still going to talk about it anyway. Mostly because, well, I felt the need to. For those of you that don't know, Sonic's 2D adventures came to a screeching halt about 23 years ago, give or take, I think. 1994 was when Sonic and Knuckles was released last, and that was the last good, true 2D Sonic.
I feel as though I should clarify, right? I don't mean that there hasn't been any good Sonic games since, well, 23 years ago, 1994. I'm very much aware that Sonic 4 episodes 1 and 2 and even the Sonic Advance series exist as far as 2D goes, but in all honesty, the Advance series was good, but it wasn't as good as it could have been, and I just never really got into that specific playstyle. And Sonic 4 episodes 1 and 2 are just a little wonky around all edges. So this is Sonic Mania, and oh my god, that intro is amazing. You should really take the time out to look at it. So is this one of them. That Saftoo's guy is right here. He's like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. This game doesn't suck. I'm here for you, man. So the story. Well, it's about as good as you're gonna get for a classic 2D Sonic game like this. Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik is back up to no good. After his defeat at Sonic's hands in the previous game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, he finds something on Angel Island Zone that is not a Chaos Emerald or even a Master Emerald, but something known as the Phantom Ruby. It activates and transforms all the badniks around it into the hard-boiled heavies. These are the main antagonists throughout the majority of the game, Eggman himself. And, you know, credit where credit is due, their design is pretty great. I mean, look at them. You can get a good feel for who each of them are, kinda, just by getting a good look at them. They're definitely unique, and sprite work is, well, great. It's good. Look at that ninja. Immediately you get to play the first level of the game in Sonic's history. It's Green Hill Zone, and this is friggin' awesome. It looks just like it should. It sounds like it should. For all intents and purposes, it is the very first level of the very first Sonic game, and it's just how I remember it. Except for, well, hang on, it's a little different. I remember this layout. Oh, but look at all these rings! Alright, so I'm sure you picked up on it by now. It's a mix mash, right? It's a mixed pot of old and new. It's the old level, the old theme, but it's been remixed and reworked into something completely different and new. While it holds elements and certain parts of the game are similar to what they used to be, for all intents and purposes, this is a very new level. Kind of consider this like a third or even fourth level of the original. If you went and played Green Hill Zone's Act 1 and 2 from the original, and then you slapped in Sonic Mania and played the first two Green Hill Zones here, well, aside from the controls being fairly different and Sonic having a little more mobility than he did back in his first outing, you would consider this to be a fairly accurate and good representation and continuation of what the classic stages were. There's a lot of this for a lot of the old classic levels that you're encountering, because outside of Studiopolis, Press Garden, Mirage Saloon, Metallic Madness, and Titanic Monarch, the rest of the game is composed of entirely old school levels. Again, though, it's kind of like the third and fourth level of those old school levels, so it's new-ish, but it's familiar, and that's what I like about this. It's very nostalgia-ridden, but it also provides some new, interesting ways of getting around, plus you get to see some really cool stuff. With that said, I never would have thought that a Wild West stage in a Sonic game would happen, but wow, this actually is great, and the theme is amazing.
And oh my god, this music. Have you been listening to it? I mean, you should be, right? It's been playing in the background of the video the whole time. It's phenomenal. I don't know what this composer did, but man, He killed it. This music is about as good as you could ever hope. Now I know back in the day the Sega Genesis was never really known for its musical capabilities, right? Like it was always Super Nintendo that had the best songs, and to its credit, it did, but the Genesis wasn't very far off, especially with its main flagship titles like Sonic the Hedgehog. They always knew just how to sync real well with the hardware they had back then, and this game is no exception. I mean, have you heard the Press Garden Zone Act 2? That thing is great. Probably one of the best songs in here, and it's wholly original to this game. You would never know if you hadn't played the originals, right? This music just pairs up real well with everything else that existed back in the mid-90s. It's spot on.
Along the way, if you take the time to explore the level, I know it's very tempting to just go fast, but if you take the time to explore, you might come across these giant rings. These are the special stages. You gotta catch the emerald in the UFO. This is one of the better special zones for Chaos Emerald collecting, in my opinion. No half pipes and no blue spheres here. It's all about going fast and staying on the course. Some kind of racing game. We don't talk about that. Some of them are fairly well hidden, and on my first playthrough I didn't get all the emeralds, but hey, if you can get them all, you're in for the best thing in this entire game. But more on that in a little bit. But Leon, I hear you say, blue spheres do exist. And you're right, they do, but they're not special stages, they are bonus stages, and there are many places for you to get bonus stages as opposed to the not as many giant rings. Now the blue sphere stages are almost exactly how you remember them. Most of them, some of them anyway, are ripped straight out of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And some of them are more or less brand new, but they all feel really good. It's pretty much just how you remember them if you ever played them back in the day. If you haven't, then you are in for a treat. As long as you don't get motion sick. It does get a little carried away at times, especially once it starts picking up the speed. But if you manage to beat them, you'll get either a silver medal or a gold medal. A silver medal for just beating the stage, no big deal there. Collect all the blue spheres, congratulations. You win! If you're a little more insane and you want a challenge, that challenge being collecting all the rings. Depending on how you end up collecting all those blue spheres, you can turn them into rings, and if you collect all of those, well, congratulations, you've perfected the level, and you're ready to move on to the next one. Now, upon getting all the gold medals, or at least some of the gold medals, and all the silver medals, or at least some of the silver medals, again, you don't need to get everything, but the more you collect, the more stuff you unlock. The unlocks range in extra abilities for Sonic, to extra modes, and Knuckles mode, blue sphere mode if you want to do nothing but play the potentially millions of blue sphere levels, Mean Bean Machine if you really like Puyo Puyo. I mean, who doesn't? This music's great. And sound tests so you can listen to your favorite songs. It's a good addition. It makes you really appreciate some of the hard work that went into this. Now it should be noted that special abilities you get for Sonic are only playable in the no save file. Why that is exactly, I'm not 100% sure, because they don't really break the game in my opinion, but they do change up the play style. You can unlock Sonic's Insta-Shield from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which, when activated at just the right time, can either make you momentarily invulnerable, or it can extend your attack range so you can hit that enemy that's just out of reach. But if you don't like the utility of the Insta-Shield, you could always pick the Super Peel Out from Sonic CD, which you activate by holding up and your jump button, and Sonic will immediately start spinning his legs around. Look at those little things. They look like noodles. He's got little noodle legs. It's great. Now, if you want to play in the no save file, you have other options and other things for you to do. You could also unlock through the Blue Sphere minigame debug mode, and this allows you to more or less break the game. You want to put up all the rings in the world, you can do that. You want to put down a bunch of ring boxes, feel free. You want to get all the Chaos Emeralds in the literal first section of whatever level you're doing, go for it. Would you like to beat the game? All you gotta do is put a signpost down. Run right through it. Just be careful. If you get carried away, you can essentially freeze the game. I had to get kicked out to my main menu on my Xbox because of this, and honestly, it's a little funny. Potentially one of the greatest things you can unlock in this game, if you really, really want it, is the And Knuckles mode, which is hilarious in and of itself, and I'll let you experience that for yourself, or at least why I think it's hilarious. Again, it's on the no save file, so you can't save your progress, but if you're able to beat the entire game with Knuckles as your buddy as opposed to Tails, then you're in for a bit of a treat. Especially if you want to take it to the next level. And by that I mean you play as Knuckles, and that in and of itself is probably one of the greatest things you could do. By the way, there is a special ending if you beat Knuckles and Knuckles. I'm not going to spoil that for you here. Instead, I'll give you a little bit of a picture so you know that I'm being 100% honest, and if you're really curious, well, you can beat it for yourself, or look it up online. So, whatever floats your boat. Don't rob yourself of it, though. It's actually pretty funny. The context for this picture, anyway. Now, while we're talking about game-breaking things, we're talking about debug mode, game-breaking, the emeralds, if you collect all of them, oh god, oh, get ready for greatness. Sonic decides that he's done dealing with things as a regular hedgehog, and instead he takes it
even further beyond.
That's right. Obligatory DBZ reference. He is Supersonic. Now, how do you do this? Well, again, you collect all the Chaos Emeralds. No big deal there. I'm sure you've gotten plenty of practice in by now. And then you jump into the air and you hit the jump button again. Provided you don't have a shield, and you can transform into Supersonic. And, oh my god, abuse this if you can. Everything is just that much easier. Bosses, forget it.
Please, somebody make it stop!
Speed ain't nothing faster than this Supersonic right here. Upon activation, generally your controls are a bit more loose. It just feels a little bit better all around, if you're used to it anyway. At first it might be a little jarring. Now with that said, if you decide to play as Knuckles and or Tails, they too can go super after collecting all the Chaos Emeralds. However, it does not look as cool. They definitely do not get the gold spiky Super Saiyan-esque locks that Sonic gets for some reason. They instead just kind of casually flash white. And they get a little sparkle trail behind them. I mean, it's neat, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it's not of the same caliber, let's say. If you end up beating the game and not having all the Chaos Emeralds, don't worry, you can go back and get them on your save file and then beat the game again, and you'll get treated to the special boss for Sonic. And I should note that this is really only for Sonic. No other character gets this. Once you beat the game, that's more or less it. You can play through with other characters, Tails and or Knuckles if you want, and beat the game with them, or if you prefer, you can do just Sonic. Or if you really want, you can beat it just a one time and say it's done, but you're kind of doing yourself a disservice there. I really recommend that you sit down and play the entirety of this great game from beginning to end. Pick Sonic and Tails, then pick Tails, then pick Knuckles. That's where a lot of the fun is in getting everything and experiencing everything. While we're talking about experiencing everything, there is also a competitive mode that you can play in where it pits you in a split-screen game against somebody on your couch. It's strictly couch co-op, and I understand why they did that. It's a throwback to how they did it on Sonic 2 in the Sega Genesis days, but it's a little lost in today's world, and I feel like they could have easily made it an online component, but I know why they did it, and I get the appeal. Still, though, kind of a missed opportunity, if you ask me. Luckily, if you're an achievement hunter, none of the achievements are tied to the competitive mode, so you don't have to play it if you don't want to. But if you're looking for an excuse to sit down with a buddy and just go real fast, it's worth it, I think. For those of you that like to speedrun, there's also the time trial mode. That's a thing that you can do. Starts you at the beginning of the level, and you just run through the entire thing as quickly as you can. There are no bosses, so you don't have to worry about beating them. It's strictly a race from the start to the end. If you can get there, great. If not, don't worry about it. That's what this time attack mode is here for. Get better, get faster. See if you can beat your own records. See if you can beat the online records. You're probably not going to be able to beat the online records. Some of them are ludicrous, if not completely broken.
And, well, that's it, right? That's Sonic Mania. It took 23 years, but boy, did we get a really great title out of it. I would say it's probably some of the best stuff that's ever come out of Sonic Team in, well, 23 years. And with that said, I know it wasn't actually Sonic Team that developed this, right? It was created by fans. This is probably the first, let's say, AAA, right? Well, there's AAA. It's not really, but it kind of is because it had Sega's blessing, right? So it's kind of the first AAA game produced by a whole fan base. And, you know, Christian Whitehead, Taxman, and Stealth, and Headcanon Games, they're all huge fans. They've been making Sonic hacks and ROMs and all kinds of stuff for about as long as people have been wanting a true true-to-form 2D Sonic game. So the fact that fans were able to make this is astounding to me, right? Other companies should take notice. This is what happens when you let fans do what fans do best, and that's, well, be fans. A fan isn't going to make a terrible game, not on purpose anyway, because it always comes from the heart, right? Like, they're just wanting to make something good that'll be wholly enjoyed by the entire community, whether they were fans or whether they're going to be fans. So with that said, I'm not going to give this game a whatever out of 10 rating, right? I'm going to go ahead and try and give this game the proper respect that it's due. If you like old school Sonic, right? Or even if you don't, even if you're a new 3D Sonic fan, right? Go back. Come back to the past with us. Take a little nostalgia trip, right? Let it just flow with it, man. Just flow with it. And you'll find what I think to be one of the best 2D games to come out of Sega in years. Forever, it feels like. What should you do? For about $20, what you're going to get for this price tag is an astounding value. You're not going to get anything that sounds as good, looks as good, or plays as well as this, at least not from Sega, right? At least not anytime soon, because we're in a bit of a drought right now. Summer titles, summer releases not really looking as good as other times of the year. I know Christmas is coming up, and the winter holidays always have, you know, the big releases, because, you know, they do that on purpose. But for the price and for what you're getting, it's phenomenal, and I couldn't recommend it more. If I weren't going to give this game any kind of recommendation outside of just buy it, well, from an old school fan to you guys, I say that this game is worth whatever you put into it. If you complete it from beginning to end, you're going to feel fantastic. If you put in a little bit of time and you just play through it to get the whole story, well, you're going to feel pretty good about your purchase. So it's worth what you put in. And it's worth more to those who remember the good days of when Sonic was something truly special. But that's all the time I have for today, guys. So with that, I'm going to let you get out of here. Go buy this game. Show Sega and other companies, by extension, that 2D still matters to some people. With any luck, maybe we'll get a Sonic Mania 2. And with any more luck, maybe some of the other companies that have historic properties will jump on the bandwagon. Maybe we'll get something great. Or maybe we won't. Bubsy.
And that's that, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this whole endeavor. It's about a little over 19 minutes long, which is way longer than I was expecting. But hey, thanks for sticking it out with me. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and click that subscribe button right there. It's hard to miss. If you're curious on anything else that I've done, here's some way older videos. I should warn you, they're definitely not the best. You know, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Anyway, thanks for coming by. Hope to see you next week. We're going to get a little spooky. Halloween's coming. I'm going to set the mood just right. Thanks for coming, guys. Catch you later.